My dear friends, today I will be discussing about a important topic, that is Fallot's tetralogy or tetralogy of Fallot. Now, what is Fallot's tetralogy? Now, Fallot's tetralogy is a congenital heart disease or a heart defect that can be present at birth. Even newborns or babies, they may present with sign symptoms of Fallot's tetralogy. It may also leads to cyanotic heart disease, or also called blue baby syndrome. So what is that? Because of cyanosis, because of the presence of various components of the Fallot's tetralogy, the cyanosis may be at risk. The newborns or babies or the children may at higher risk of getting cyanosis, and the baby become blue in color. So that time we call it blue baby syndrome. So Fallot's tetralogy may lead to blue baby syndrome. Now, when it comes to cause of the Fallot's tetralogy, we must say that most common cause of the Fallot's tetralogy is genetics or environmental. And about the environmental factor, mostly the chromosome 22 defect and Dijot syndrome may be one of the important cause of Fallot's tetralogy. Besides, some genetic defect like JEG1, then NKX25, then VEGF, these are the various genes that may ultimately responsible for causing Fallot's tetralogy. Now, there are some risk factors of Fallot's tetralogy. So what are those risk factors? It has been found that if the mother resort to alcoholism, or the mother who take alcohol during the time of pregnancy, they may develop newborns or babies with Fallot's tetralogy. So alcoholic mother is an important risk factor for development of Fallot's tetralogy in the newborn or in the next generation children. Besides, diabetic mother, if the mother is having diabetes, especially gestational diabetes, the newborns may have higher risk of development of Fallot's tetralogy. Besides, maternal age, if the age of the mother is more than 40 years, then there is increased risk of development of Fallot's tetralogy. Besides, rubella infection, rubella is a virus, and rubella infection can lead to Fallot's tetralogy also. So rubella infection during the pregnancy may increase the risk of getting Fallot's tetralogy in the newborn. Besides, it has been found that the Down syndrome, which is because of the trisomy of 21st chromosome, can also be associated with Fallot's tetralogy. Now, this Fallot's tetralogy, we will discuss that. Before we go to the various components, I should say that it is common in the ratio of 1:2000. That is, out of 2000 newborn babies, one can have Fallot's tetralogy. So it is one of the important congenital heart disease which may lead to cyanosis. Besides, the male and female ratio is 1 or 1:1. That is, both male and female are equally prone to develop Fallot's tetralogy. And it is one of the most common cause of congenital heart disease which may be associated with cyanosis. Now we will discuss about the various component or heart defects that can be present in Fallot's tetralogy. So from the name itself, tetralogy means there are 4 component or 4 defect in the heart which constitutes the tetralogy of Fallot. So number 1 is pulmonary infundibular stenosis, or simply we call it pulmonary stenosis. That is, stenosis in the pulmonary artery near the infundibulum. Actually, because of this stenosis, blood from the right ventricle cannot enter into the pulmonary circulation, or there is pulmonary oligemia. So that is another important complication of Fallot's tetralogy, that there is less amount of blood going into the pulmonary circulation and there is more accumulation of blood in the right ventricle. So pulmonary stenosis is one important component. There is another important component known as VSD or ventricular septal defect. What is that? We all know that the ventricle is divided into right ventricle and left ventricle by one interventricular septum, which divides the right ventricle as well as left ventricle, but because of this chamber or because of this septum which divides the right ventricle and left ventricle, blood from the right ventricle cannot enter into the left ventricle, or blood from the left ventricle cannot enter into the right ventricle. So because of the ventricular or interventricular septum, blood from either side cannot undergo any mixing. So this prevents the mixing of deoxygenated blood and the oxygenated blood. That's why there is no cyanosis at normal heart. But in case of Fallot's tetralogy, there is a ventricular septal defect, and because of ventricular septal defect, there is a defect in the or hole in the septum of the ventricle, that is hole in the interventricular septum, and that's why blood from right side, that is right heart, which is mostly deoxygenated, can go into the left side and can cause cyanosis, or blood from left side can move towards right side, but that time there is no cyanosis. So cyanosis will occur if there is a mixing of blood from right side of the heart towards the left side, because right side contains deoxygenated blood, and once it's entered the left side, there is from left side of the heart, that is from the left ventricle, the mixed blood or deoxygenated blood will be transported to the whole body, and that's why there is a increased risk of cyanosis. So ventricular septal defect, there is important factor which is because of which cyanosis chance is there. There is another important component of Fallot's tetralogy, that is right ventricular hypertrophy. Now, as I already told, because of pulmonary stenosis, there is blood from the right ventricle cannot enter into the pulmonary circulation because there is some obstruction in the pulmonary artery, and that's why there is pulmonary oligemia. And because of the pulmonary stenosis, blood starts accumulation in the right ventricle, or right ventricle has to work against a strong resistance or pressure load, and that's why it creates right ventricular hypertrophy. Because of the right ventricular hypertrophy, ultimately Fallot's tetralogy may lead to right ventricular failure also. So what I mean to say is that another important component of Fallot's tetralogy is right ventricular hypertrophy. Next is overriding of aorta. So overriding of aorta is another important component of Fallot's tetralogy. So there are four important components of Fallot's tetralogy. Number one is pulmonary infundibular stenosis. Second one is ventricular septal defect. Third is right ventricular hypertrophy, and fourth is overriding of aorta. So these are the four important heart defects or component of Fallot's tetralogy. They together, these four components together forms the Fallot's tetralogy. Okay, now we'll discuss about the various hemodynamic changes or hemodynamics or pathophysiology of the Fallot's tetralogy. Now what is happening is that normally in normal heart, what is happening, there are four chambers. So right atrium, then left atrium, right ventricle, then left ventricle. Now between the right atrium and left atrium there is a one interventricular and interatrial septum, and between the right ventricle and left ventricle there is interventricular septum. This septum prevents the admixture of blood from the right side as well as to the left side. Now most of the blood coming to the right heart or right atrium as well as right ventricle is deoxygenated blood, or blood which contain higher amount of carbon dioxide. Now from the peripheral part of the body, from the lower limb through venous return, it enters into the inferior vena cava, and from the upper part of the body, that is from the head and neck, through superior vena cava, the blood from the upper part of the body through superior vena cava enters into the right atrium, and deoxygenated blood from the lower limb and lower part of the body through inferior vena cava enters the right atrium. But mostly this blood is deoxygenated blood or contain higher amount of carbon dioxide. From the right atrium, the blood will enter into the right ventricle by opening of tricuspid valve. So blood that is entering into the right ventricle contains mostly high carbon dioxide blood or deoxygenated blood. That's why the blood which is circulated in the right heart or right side of the heart is deoxygenated blood or carbon dioxide blood, or a blood which contain high level of carbon dioxide. So we call it deoxygenated blood. Now from the right heart, that is from the right ventricle, because of contraction of the right ventricle, the blood will enter into the pulmonary artery, which carries blood from the right ventricle towards the lung for oxygenation. And there is another valve here known as semilunar valve or pulmonary valves, which, because of which blood from the right ventricle can enter into the lung and for oxygenation. So deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle will move towards the lung through pulmonary artery for gaseous exchange, which undergo oxygenation. So after oxygenation, at the level of pulmonary capillaries, the blood becomes oxygenated and it through pulmonary veins ultimately enters into the left atrium. So the blood entering into the left atrium, that is the left side of the heart, is oxygenated because the deoxygenated blood enters the heart. The deoxygenated blood from the right heart enters the lung and undergoes oxygenation, and out after oxygenation it enters the left atrium via 4 pulmonary veins. Now from the left atrium, by opening of mitral valve, the oxygenated blood will enter into the left ventricle. So from the left ventricle, now left ventricle will contract and blood from the left ventricle will enter into the aortic circulation, or via aorta it enters into the systemic circulation. That's why the blood in the left side of the heart is oxygenated blood or pure blood, and blood from the right side of the heart is mostly deoxygenated blood because which contain high amount of carbon dioxide, so or impure blood. So blood from the right side of the heart is impure blood or high level of carbon dioxide, or it is also known as deoxygenated blood as it contains less amount of oxygen, or we can call it impure blood. Whereas blood from the left side of the heart is oxygenated blood or pure blood or contain high amount of oxygen or low amount of carbon dioxide. And because from the left side of heart only, the pure blood or oxygenated blood will be supplied towards the whole systemic circulation. Now in case of VSD, what is happening, or in case of tetralogy failure, there is a presence of VSD or ventricular septal defect. Now ventricular septal defect is present on the interventricular septum. So it connects the right ventricle as well as left ventricle. But normally because of that, there is a risk of transfer of blood from one chamber to another chamber. But normally the pressure in the left side of the heart or left ventricle is more compared to the right ventricle. That's why if there is admixture of blood also, blood is flowing from the left ventricle to right ventricle. And that's why blood from the left ventricle contains oxygenated blood. So if it enters the impure blood, it does not cause cyanosis. This is because right ventricle is not going to supply the blood to the systemic circulation. So if there is left to right shunt, there is no risk of cyanosis. But because of pulmonary stenosis or pulmonary infundibular stenosis, what is happening is that there is gradual rise of right ventricular pressure, and with time there is a risk that right ventricular pressure increases or supersede the left ventricular pressure, that is right ventricular pressure become more than left ventricular pressure. In such situation, blood from the right side of the heart can enter into the left side. Now, and it is going to admixture the blood of the left side of the heart, that is left ventricle, and that's why the amount of blood which is coming out from the left ventricle is deoxygenated, and that's why it may lead to cyanosis. So what I mean to say is that if there is a shunting will be always be there in case of Fallot's tetralogy because of presence of VSD or ventricular septal defect. Admixture of blood will be always be there. But normally if the admixture of blood is from the left to right side, then there is no cyanosis. But any cause, because of any, if there is any, or because of pulmonary stenosis, right ventricular pressure increases, then what will happen? Blood from the right side of heart can enter the left side. There the problem starts because it will lead to cyanosis, and it may, the Fallot's tetralogy can give rise to a complex cyanotic heart disease, and even it may lead to blue baby syndrome. So these are the various pathophysiological mechanism or complication of the Fallot's tetralogy. Now because of pulmonary infundibular stenosis, right ventricle has to work against a strong resistance to push the blood towards the lung. So it is working against a strong pressure overload or resistance, and that's why gradually with time the right ventricle undergoes hypertrophy. The musculature of the right ventricle undergoes hypertrophy, and that's why we see right ventricular hypertrophy. Now with time, this right ventricular hypertrophy, if it is the phellostatology, if it is not managed with surgical intervention or some other intervention, right ventricular hypertrophy may ultimately complicate to get or to give rise to right ventricular failure, and ultimately it may lead to left ventricular failure also. So phellostatology, if it is not managed or it is not prevented or it is not treated, may leads to right ventricular failure and eventually left ventricular failure. So this is one of the important complication of phellostatology. Now we will discuss something about the sign symptoms of phellostatology. Now this phellostatology is a congenital heart disease, so it may present in newborn babies also, but the sign symptoms may vary from patient to patient or from newborn to newborn. Even in the newborn, they might be having the phellostatology, but they may be asymptomatic, and even some patients may be very much symptomatic or present with severe manifestation of the disease. So sign symptoms of the disease, depending on the or manifestation of the sign symptoms, it depends on the severity of the disease. So the patient may present without any sign symptom or may be asymptomatic, and even they may present with severe sign symptoms or severe manifestation of the disease. So this is the range of the sign symptom of the disease. Now in case of phellostatology, or the if it is present in the newborn, one of the important sign symptom is that if the baby cry, then there is an increased risk of getting cyanosed or blue and loss of consciousness. So one of the important clinical feature or complaint by the mother is that when the baby cry or do some exertion, it may leads to cyanosis, or the body become blue, baby become blue, and even sometimes the baby may lose consciousness. So these are one of the important sign symptoms of phellostatology. Besides, there may be heart murmur because there is ventricular septal defect. So blood from the left side is going to the right side in case of acyanosis, and in case of cyanosis, blood from the right side of the heart is moving toward the left side. So there will be some murmur because of ventricular septal defect as well as pulmonary stenosis. So murmurs of the heart or murmurs can be auscultated in the heart, as well as because of cyanosis there may be risk of presence of clubbing. So clubbing may be present. This is one of the important sign symptoms. Clubbing may be present. Then on auscultation or heart auscultation we can find some murmur also. Besides, it has been found that phellostatology can lead to cyanotic heart disease or may lead to cyanosis. Why it lead to cyanosis? As I told, because of pulmonary stenosis or because of some mechanism which leads to right side or right ventricular pressure more compared to the left side, then blood from the right ventricle can enter into the left side of the heart, and because of which cyanosis can occur. And those patients with cyanotic heart disease may present with various sign symptoms. What are those? One of the important sign symptoms is failure to gain weight. So in newborn or in babies or in children, the failure to gain weight is another important sign symptom. Then dyspnea or difficulty in breathing on exertion. So they may have exertional dyspnea. Then there is a polycythemia or increased RBC count because of cyanosis is one of the physiological change that occurs because of cyanosis. And one of the important sign symptom is that the baby will turn blue on crying. So that is another important sign symptom. Besides, there is another spell known as TED spell or cyanotic spell, or also called acute hypoxic spell. So what is that spell or what is that episode? So this hypoxic spell means it's an acute condition which is precipitated by anxiety or pain or dehydration or even fever. So high fever or because of some pain stimulus or because of dehydration or anxiety, the hypoxic spell is precipitated. So what will happen in this hypoxic spell? In hypoxic spell or in cyanotic spell or also known as TED spell, the baby will present with shortness of breath as well as agitation. Then cyanosis will be there, and sometimes it may lead to loss of consciousness also. So normally the shunting in the blood, shunting of blood in the ventricle is from the left to right shunt, and that's why there is no risk of cyanosis. But because of various risk factors, or because of some anxiety, pain, dehydration or fever, the right ventricular pressure becomes very much increased, and during that time it leads to cyanosis by right to left shunt, and that is associated with the TED spell or hypoxic spell or cyanotic spell. So in TED spell there is a sudden increase in cyanosis, which ultimately leads to even syncope also. In older children, they may take a position known as squatting position, which ultimately relieves the sign symptom of the cyanosis. And because of this is because of the mechanism that when the person or when the child sit in a squatting position, it increases the systemic vascular resistance, and because of increase of the systemic vascular resistance, it increases the left ventricular pressure, and that's why the shunt from the right to left will be undergo reversal, or this causes reversal of shunt, and finally the shunt goes from left to right, and that's why there will be no cyanosis or decreased risk of cyanosis, or it lowers the chance of getting cyanosed. So in older children, in that TED spell or hypoxic spell, they will take the squatting position, or squatting position will relieve the sign symptom of the cyanosis, because it helps in increasing the systemic vascular resistance, as well as reversal of the shunt is there, which ultimately decreases the cyanosis or prevents the sign symptom of cyanosis. So this is all about the sign symptom of the Fallot's tetralogy. Now we will discuss something about the complication of Fallot's tetralogy. So what is the complication of Fallot's tetralogy? Now Fallot's tetralogy is a heart disease which contain ventricular septal defect, which is made up of another important heart defect known as pulmonary infundibular stenosis. Another defect is right ventricular hypertrophy and overriding of aorta. So when it comes to complication, the most important complication is because of VSD, and because of pulmonary stenosis there will increase risk of cyanosis. So it may lead to cyanosis or cyanotic heart disease. When the shunt goes from right to left shunt, the blood from the right ventricle that contain deoxygenated blood will enter into the left heart and ultimately increase the admixture of blood, which is circulated to systemic circulation, and finally leads to cyanosis. So systemic cyanosis may be one of the important complications of Fallot's tetralogy. Besides cyanosis, there may be another risk, that is, or another complication known as right ventricular hypertrophy. Now right ventricular hypertrophy occurs because of infundibular stenosis, and ventricle has to pump against the pulmonary resistance, higher pulmonary resistance, or decrease in the pulmonary inflow, and that's why there is more accumulation of blood in the right ventricle, which ultimately leads to right ventricular hypertrophy. But this right ventricular hypertrophy, if it persists for longer time, can lead to right ventricular failure. So this is second complication of cyanotic heart disease, that is Fallot's tetralogy. That Fallot's tetralogy, if it is untreated, can lead to right ventricular failure, and even right ventricular failure, if it persists for long time, can affect the left ventricular failure. So that is the third important complication of Fallot's tetralogy, that it can also lead to left ventricular failure. So these are the various complications. First important complication is it may lead to cyanotic heart disease. Second important complication is that it can lead to right heart failure or right ventricular failure. And third important complication is that it can lead to left ventricular failure, or also known as congestive heart failure. So these are the various complications of Fallot's tetralogy. Thank you very much.